Look how it says. Look how Peter says. But also for this very reason, giving all diligence. That's a dangerous thing to be diligent about, you know? He says, add to your faith virtue. To virtue, knowledge. To knowledge, self-dominion. To self-dominion, perseverance. To perseverance, godliness. To godliness, brotherly kindness. And to brotherly kindness, love. See, that's nice. That is why Paul says that with inflated words they deceive the naive. In other words, I have a faith. The Lord gave me a faith that is useless if I don't add to it. Me. I have to add. When faith is a gift. And to the gifts you cannot add anything. The gifts come complete. That's Peter. You know what James says? He says, draw near to God. Resist the devil. And from you he will flee. That's James. When Paul says the devil was destroyed. Then John. He says he who has the Son. He has also the Father. And he has also the Spirit. Juan divides it into three. Now the Apostle Paul, he tells you that God is one. And that in Christ dwells all the fullness of deity. That's why in Titus chapter 1 verse 10, look what the Apostle Paul says about those of the circumcision. For there are many insubordinate, both idle talkers and deceivers. Hey, especially those. Especially those. In other words, in those days, there were many deceivers. But especially those. The contumacious and deceivers. It says they were those of the circumcision. And who was the chief of the circumcision? Peter. He was the one that was given that gospel. We can see it in Galatians chapter 2 verse 7. Here we prove it all to you with the Bible. Look at what verse 7 says. Keep in mind that Paul said, but I didn't read the whole thing. Hey, this engineer is quick on that verse. But it says they deceive whole houses. Let's go to Titus again. Let's go to Titus because I want you to see what circumcision does. Verse 11. Look how verse 11 says. To whom what should be covered? What do we call the opposition project we have in the streets? It is known as the Mouthpiece Project. Our intention when we take to the streets is to cover the mouths of others. It is not disrespectful to them. It is to stop that message, to tell them that disrupts entire homes. Look what it says. Those of the circumcision. It says, whose mouths must be stopped. Who subvert whole households, teaching things which they ought not for the sake of dishonest gain. Why does he say that they teach for dishonest gain? Because they lie. And they ask for tithes and offerings.